Is there more to life than this? Not really, it's just 10 things. Hi, hello, I'm Phil. I work at Let's Try Again Productions, and welcome to Let's Relook. Basically, we have a friend who sometimes feels lost in life and asks questions about it, so we're answering for a friend. Today, let's relook life. So no one asks this question when life is good or busy. It's especially reserved for when we're spiraling, usually a midlife crisis, existential crisis, or some level of depression. Basically, whenever it feels like something important is missing. So this is an actual attempt at answering everything there is to life. Get a life. If you've ever had the pleasure of receiving this advice but not the follow-up details, here's a fairly good example from Reddit of what having a life looks like. I play a hardcore sport with a team Monday to Friday mornings. I have a part-time job, and I'm studying for an extremely difficult exam to advance my career. I have a couple of close friends that I see a few times a month. I'm a musician that plays every weekend for 1,000 people.
Whoa!
Obviously, this is one of billions of lives, but even across so many different individuals going through their own specific experiences, there are shared aspects that apply to all of us. Okay, so that would be career, money, impact, romantic relationships, family, friends, physical health, mental health, spirituality, and fun. Okay, so from the example, we can kind of see why OP has a life. I play a hardcore sport with a team Monday to Friday mornings, fulfills friends, physical health, fun, maybe mental health. I have a part-time job and I'm studying for an extremely difficult exam to advance my career. We would say that's career, money, and maybe impact. I have a couple of close friends that I see a few times a month. Sounds like that fulfills friends and maybe mental health. I'm a musician that plays every weekend for 1,000 people. I would say that's impact and fun. She engages in almost all aspects of living. She's fulfilled in many ways. And all of this barely from a paragraph of what her actual life experience may be. It could be far more enriching and, of course, include hardships. But isn't there more? No doubt, life is complicated and some of us may think that sorting all of it into 10 things is a little too simple. While everyone is welcome to poke holes in the framework, consider whether doing that serves us. While belief systems must account for nuance and complexity to accurately represent truth, it's generally easier to begin understanding all information from as far away as possible, to see as much of the whole picture as we can. It forces us to distill the biggest things down to its very essence, especially something as big as human life. As far as we can tell, the essence of human life is to feel purpose and fulfillment. There is more, for sure. It just may not be about infinite expansion outward as opposed to infinitesimally inward. So not breadth, but depth. Maybe the universe and life is fractal like that. Perhaps everything we already know fits within these 10 categories. Or at least thinking this way may serve us more in seeking truth and therefore living it in practice. You know, compared to looking for exceptions that exist outside. Okay, so 3.5 sources. So we step back to see as much of it as we can. Now we can go a little closer and start to see some details. Before coming across the 10, it made sense to me that all purpose and fulfillment could stem from as little as 3.5 sources. In order of popularity, you have might at the top, which is wealth and power, and then you have relationships, and then health, and as a little extra, you have soul, which is like human spirit, expression, creativity, spirituality. All are fairly self-explanatory except for soul. Whether or not it technically exists to anyone, it does have a specific type of effect on us. So what we're trying to describe is how we're affected by having a soul inside of us. This includes the urge to pay attention to things that no one told us to care about and do stuff that isn't motivated by a sense of duty or even rationality. In these moments, we probably feel at least the slightest passion, something beyond the usual neutral, whether it's our hobbies, interests, peeves, or dislikes even. That's how we express ourselves. If anyone still isn't sure what this soul effect is, well, what do you not have to care about but do anyway? What are you into? What do you enjoy about life that doesn't feel like a chore or duty? And what do you not need to do but do anyway because you want to? For any of us who can't answer these, it might be that our soul needs nourishment, but don't sweat it anyway. It's only worth half the rest compared to the rest because I assume that many people in the modern world don't consider this stuff as important. Broadly because we can't eat faith, fun, or love, and they're not going to keep us alive. Okay. After that, we dive a little deeper to inspect the details more closely, which brings us to the 10. Since 3.5 sources may leave a bit too much room for interpretation and may not be informative enough to many, the 10 present a clearer view of life's overarching patterns. By breaking life down more specifically into 10 components, we have a sharper awareness of it. So it could look something like this. They can be interpreted however we need. The 10 aspects of life to develop, 10 ways to grow, 10 principles of living fully, 10 pillars of a holistic life. So the 10 for short. Okay, so the thing is, I didn't come up with the 10 myself. I learned it from a course called Love Brain. But notice how it can seamlessly fall under the umbrella categories of the 3.5 sources, even in the same order of popularity. Basically, if strangers from all over the world who have never interacted before can arrive at similar conclusions about life, maybe these conclusions are worth looking into. So career is action, pure doing. Most of us throw at least half of our waking hours for more than half of our lives at it. If what we do defines us is true, then career is often a big determinant of our identities. Our job descriptions do become self-descriptions, even if we hate our job. It's generally the biggest way regular people like us bring value to society transactionally. So advancing in career is more about self-actualization. Is this the best I can do? It's more about proving to ourselves how far we can go. So it's not a primarily selfless endeavor. Regardless, corresponding to the amount we benefit society, we are then owed value. Often, it's to sustain our ability to continue our value-bringing actions, but society returns this value that it owes us in the form of money. This is a storage of value for future exchanges. Its only use is to be exchanged for actual value. Experiences that we can and can't touch, that improve our odds of survival, boost our motivation, or both. It doesn't technically do anything on its own, since it's just numbers. Whether it's on a piece of paper or plastic or a screen. It's fairly useless on a deserted island or deep in a jungle, maybe even in a monastery. But in modern society, the amount of numbers we are rewarded for our actions determines our value in a very real way. Impact is most heavily tied to career because it's the result of our actions. Whereas career is about self-actualization, the focus of impact is beyond just ourselves. It's loftier because it concerns our effect on others. Generally, developing one's career leads to rising wealth and status, which increases our ability to make bigger and longer-lasting changes to more people. Of course, it's possible to create a legacy without money or authority. We have activists, charities, and underdogs, like Gandhi, for example, who had high status to supporters of the cause he championed. These people can fight for and contribute to causes that sometimes successfully overturn existing structural powers, which succeed hopefully because it's good for humanity in general. But on a less grandiose and revolutionary scale, we could pursue romantic relationships. This is most often about propagating our genes onto the next generation. Bringing our descendants into the world, into existence, would definitely have at least a small impact on the area and would alter what could be of the future. They would be undeniable proof that lasts. They would be a lasting difference that we leave on the world. So in propagating our genes, we create a family. Who we're born to is pure luck and completely out of our control. We couldn't choose who we were raised by or the circumstances we were raised in, and we can't choose who we'll raise or how they will respond and react to our actions. Family is theoretically the most physically codependent unit in our society, even if family members are very different from each other to the point of not really getting along. We do share the most physical resources like housing and money and food, because that's what makes us a family. A problem for one member becomes all of our problems. And if this doesn't seem applicable to your family, it maybe wasn't functioning the best that it could. Of course, there's the family we choose, also known as friends. This is the result of our free will and our convenience. Disclaimer, most friends aren't really the family we choose because normally friends share attention, emotions, and other such non-physical resources. We don't have to put any physical resources where our mouths are Only the few that pool physical resources together, putting more of themselves at stake in the relationship, can really call their friends family. Especially if these friends share more physical resources among each other than their actual family. Physical health is often neglected in pursuit of money or career, and that's whether or not we are poor or ambitious. So I get it, making time for health can be difficult and pretty disruptive to maybe solving bigger problems or seizing more important opportunities in our lives, but maybe it makes sense to treat being healthy as maintenance work, at least. We can aim to do the bare minimum to keep our bodies running smoothly, although some do see fitness as an end in and of itself and will strive to maximize it in the same way other people strive to maximize career and money, which is great because ultimately it's all to achieve the same goal of living well. Mental health is probably even more overlooked than physical health because the results of nourished and cultivated mental health are even less observable. Most people equate it to happiness, which isn't wrong, but is also not complete. It should include simply feeling neutral, despite the world constantly changing around us. Being secure, content, resilient, stable, at ease. Yeah, all that. To improve mental health, we usually try to address external circumstances, being more empathetic, employing a soft touch, less harsh ways of doing things. All that is great and should continue, but the greatest improvements are probably going to be ones we summon from within ourselves. This is highly dependent on the openness of our perception, which is often correlated to spirituality, is belief, specifically in unverifiable things. So caring about this belief has to be strong enough to direct the way we would otherwise think and behave. That's the very real effect it should have on us, even if we can't prove that what we believe in is real. We can't really be considered spiritual if believing it or not made no difference to us, because we just wouldn't care about what we believe in enough. Therefore, we don't believe in it. We just wouldn't care about it enough. So the opposite does exist, which is taking it too seriously. This is kind of ironic because our openness to believe and accept something that we can't prove has somehow made us more close-minded to other things that could be far more real, and sometimes, in my opinion, that defeats the goal of having belief in the first place. Fun is often the most frivolous way to live. Its purpose is to feel good and serve no other purpose, even if that might have productive side effects. We do what we enjoy for its own sake, like roller coasters and arcades. It's the key to not treating life too seriously and probably staying sane. If we have too little fun, no interests or hobbies outside of our duties like work or family, then people really might question whether we're human anymore. But too much fun with zero productive effects makes us a burden. Despite low odds of success, the dream is always to turn fun into something useful, to make it our career and maybe legacy. Fun becomes productive by adding economic and cultural value to society. The activity may become less enjoyable, but it will probably still be more fun than doing something we had no interest in doing in the first place. So reorganizing aspects of life. Like we said earlier, it's a matter of how far and deep we want to keep investigating. The truth is already there. It's just a matter of how nuanced. If it serves us to get more and more granular, go for it. But us, we're good here. Whether it's a specific or broad category of knowledge, actions, or beliefs, viewing it through this framework contextualizes its relevance to our lives. We'll give you some examples for context, but feel free to skip them. If a category like morality, which includes stuff like respect and kindness, is important to us, then where do we apply it in our life? It could be in our career, or to our clients, people we interact with, like our superiors and subordinates, or maybe other people that we love, like our romantic relationships and friends and family. Or it could be about adhering to some form of spirituality that we believe in. What about politics? It often isn't our career for most of us normal people. It could be how we view our impact on society through what we vote for and what we protest against. What about environmentalism? Maybe it's our contributed impact on society, or our career and how we earn money. What about technology? For some of us, it's our career, researching and developing to also impact the world for the better. It could also just be a tool that helps us earn money, or a tool that maintains our relationships with friends or family, so on. Conversely, some of us see it as a mental health black hole. For others, it could just be something that we play games on for fun. What about art? Its role in our life could be just a hobby for fun and to make friends, or it fulfills us as a career, even if we don't make enough money from it. Of course, it could be our impact on the culture or provoking feeling and as much of humanity as possible. The 10 don't change. We change how we see our actions, beliefs, and experiences to fit the framework. We can see how our life is balanced or not across these 10 facets. Chances are, if it's imbalanced, that's probably why we're spiraling. After all this, if there's really something that can't fit into any category, no matter how we try to spin it or stretch it, we'd honestly be quite interested to hear what this new category could be. What we get out of life. There are 10 things we could be getting out of life. At any given moment, our will to live is shaped by at least one of these. So with the simplicity of this framework, perhaps it'll be easier to acknowledge and be grateful for what we already have. And maybe we can be more targeted in addressing specific areas of discontentment. There doesn't have to be more to life than this. Live well. Here at LTAp, we make content about what it means to live well as a kind of answer to everything. There could be billions of different interpretations to this, since ultimately everybody gets to decide for themselves individually. But if you're interested in our suggestions, you could stick around with us. We have a lot to answer for a friend.